Welcome to the Mobile Workforce Podcast, where we sit down and have real conversations with business leaders that have been where you are. During these interviews, we'll dive into what it takes to improve systems and champion processes that maximize performance. Each week, our trailblazing guests share their experiences and understanding of the workforce to help inspire change, challenge our thinking, and share what it takes to successfully travel the road to profitability. Now here's our host, co-founder and chief evangelist of About Time and WorkMax, Mike Merrill.
Hello and welcome to the Mobile Workforce Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Merrill, and today we are sitting down with Rawley Filbin, who is the co-founder and CEO of UseFuse. And UseFuse is an app that helps independent contractors track their work and also build out their resume. So in today's episode, Rawley and I are going to talk about the effects of the Great Resignation and also what entrepreneurs need to think about before they're going out onto their own and branding themselves and creating a unique and exceptional career outside of the normal bounds that we're used to seeing out there. So thanks, Rawley, for joining us today. We're looking forward to the conversation.
Excellent, Mike. Thank you for having me. Truly appreciate it.
You bet. So let's just start off and talk about this Great Resignation. What are some of the ideas that you have as to what happened and maybe why some of those things are happening?
Certainly. I think the Great Resignation was a culmination of a series of events that kind of occurred and were occurring in a pre-COVID world, but were greatly exacerbated by the pandemic. And I think what really happened was people were on a hamster wheel, and the hamster wheel was just go, work, sleep, repeat.
Basically, this perpetual hamster wheel that people are, they're just in this daily grind and this routine where there's nothing really new. They're living to work, not working to live, right?
Correct. And I think a lot of people, we saw this at our family business where people were they were showing up, they were putting in the bare minimum, and that was it. I think with this Great Resignation, there's been a huge resurgence, and I believe there's going to be an even bigger resurgence in the quality of workmanship, the respect for the customer, everything like that. In that, it's people's names are tied to their work now, and when they're going out, they're being their own boss. Their names are tied to the work that they're putting out there. It's a really, slight distinction, but I think it's important to make is that, people don't want to be, the painter at company XYZ. They want to be the painter that also works at company XYZ. And it sounds funny, but I think there is a very clear distinction there.
Yeah, I think you're right as far as people really putting their stamp or their seal of approval or their name on the work that they're creating. And I think we've seen some of that beginning, like you're saying, in a way that it maybe wasn't before, and hopefully it'll get better. Do you see other benefits out there that workers are getting from this reset, so to speak?
Some other benefits that I definitely do see is that, people are more than just one-dimensional, one task, one skill. They have a variety of skills that they're able to take part in, and they're not locked into one task all the time.
I see. Do you think that there are other issues that this Great Resignation might create, though, that will be a challenge?
In my opinion, a lot of people that are setting out and going out on their own with this great reset in mind is that they're not necessarily thinking about the long-term implications. Less structure, less organization means that you as an individual have to take all that on yourself. And when you are your own boss, you're your own, you're the solopreneur of your own destiny. You need to utilize tools that are out there to help you, build that career trajectory based on, all those little jobs that you're doing. When you're working for a company, whether it's big, small, or anything in between, a lot of times that career path is set out for you. You come in as the laborer, and you work your way up through through the ranks. But when you're a solopreneur, you have uh, you have to have the drive to do that yourself and work your way up and build a career.
Yeah, that makes sense. I really like that you make the point that, this solopreneur, I can relate to that. I mean, that's the way I started my business when I was in my early 20s. I was a general contractor, started out just self-performing small jobs, hired a few guys and kind of just grew into the boots that I had put on. But like many people, you think, oh, I'm going to start my own and I'm going to work less hours. I'm going to make more money. And it always, it's quite the opposite of that. It's usually a lot more hours and a lot less money, at least to start, until you kind of fill those boots. And like you're saying, you start to overcome some of those obstacles and learn from your mistakes. And what I'm hearing you say is that other companies that an employee can work for and learn from, they've got that structure in place, and they've got those gaps filled. So if you can kind of take note before you go off onto your own and replicate some of those processes, you'll avoid some of those challenges that a lot of people seem to hit when they're really going out on their own and trying to wing it, so to speak. That makes sense. Is that what you're saying?
That's spot on, Mike. Spot on. Is a lot of times when people are kind of trying to dip their foot into the pool of wanting to go out on their own, I think they do one of a couple of things. At least we've seen in our experience, where people either say, okay, I'm done, I've had enough, I'm getting out of here, and they just start up their own thing, or they try and like pool all the side work that they've been working on, and aggregate it, so that way when they do put in that notice to their current employer, that they have some work ready to go. But it's setting yourself up for success is the key for anyone looking to kind of take full advantage of the Great Resignation.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's nice to have a vision and a dream and a plan of sorts, but it's really the execution of those plans and that vision that really, where the rubber meets the road, that helps you to determine whether you're going to be successful or not, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So with some of these solopreneurs, to use your word, what can they do to start building some of those relationships that are going to become important to them later, like with a bank or certain vendors or suppliers? Do you have any recommendations for somebody in that boat?
There's millions of tools and platforms out there, apps on your phone that can really help anyone looking to jump out on their own with organizing, um, building, and growing.
Okay, so there's lots of tools out there that they can use to help start as a, not even a crutch, I mean more like a bridge to success, that will help catapult them further and faster by having those things in place. So what are some of those things in your mind?
Mike, like you said, there's tons of tools available out there for people. For example, one of the things that we've been working on with our mobile app, Use Fuse, is that it's a digital toolkit for today's worker. And whether you're trying to showcase your talents, justify your rate of pay, or even invoice and create estimates and invoices for customers to see, you want to look professional. You want to look like you're not writing with a crayon on a napkin, um, when you're interfacing with a customer. Um, like I said, there's hundreds of tools out there. There's apps such as Jobber or Joist that facilitate and help with creating estimates and creating invoices.
Yeah, so you're recommending that before somebody really ventures off on their own, get familiar with a couple of these tools that'll really help them to put their best foot forward with customers and look professional and help them feel comfortable with not only them as a worker or their craft, but also that they're running a legitimate and respectable business as well.
Exactly, and definitely take the time to learn and see what's out there, because there is hundreds of tools at our disposal, and we live in an exciting time where we do have opportunities and options with all these tools right on our phone. But each tool is different and has a slightly different take on what it has to offer. So take the time, research, try it out, make sure it's user friendly, and then give it a shot.
Yeah, that's great. So obviously, we all have to go through our own bumps and bruises to figure out and get our footing with the direction we want to take our business. We talked about having a short term plan and maybe some goals and aspirations. What about the other end of things when it's time for somebody to uh, exit, whether it be retirement or selling their business or maybe expand their operation? Do you have any recommendations of things that people can do even from the beginning to help put them in a direction that they'll be happy with when it comes time to do something different or to hang things up and retire?
I think that conversation is probably the scariest thing that anyone just starting out has to deal with. I'd like to. I'll reference my brother-in-law real quickly. He has a painting company in Virginia, and he's a one-man band. He's a solopreneur. He does it all. And when Glenn is working, he has his eye on everything. But we've had extensive conversations about bringing somebody in, lighten the load, or what happens if Glenn gets hurt, or what happens if he's not working for the day because he's sick. When you're trying to grow your business or expand or even looking for an exit, you know, having the pipeline of people in your organization or having the opportunity to connect with other people even in the local area, it's key. There was a funny thing that I heard even just recently earlier today was, your network is your net worth, in terms of, when you're a solopreneur out there on your own, who you're connecting with, what you're building, that's everything. And having, whether they're tools to help you, or having other people in the industry or in like adjacent industries to you that that you can work with and work together with, that's everything. That's everything when you're, out there day in and day out.
Yeah, I love that you bring that up. I've heard that phrase before, but hadn't heard it recently. So yeah, your network is your net worth. I really think that's a notable comment and something that most people can do a better job at. Even people that are really good at networking, I think, can find ways to improve the efficiency of the time spent that they're putting out there, because we can waste a lot of time building great relationships with a lot of people that don't really feed our business, that don't really help in that way. Now, if you're looking for a friend or someone to hang out with on the weekend, then that's fine. But as far as for profitability and for growing your business and for having business success, those key relationships, like a banker or like an insurance provider or like you said, other peers in your industry or in adjacent industries that can help refer work to you when they're too busy and they've got too much backlog, or maybe they don't specialize in something that you're really good at. So I like that you bring up that point, that networking and connecting with those people that can help feed your business long term is going to help that business grow organically. And really, at that point, you just have to put the work in, and that deal flow should continue to come because of those relationships.
And networking kind of sounds sometimes like, the first thing that comes to my mind is, you got to be in a suit and you're at this fancy restaurant kind of BSing with the other guy. But networking it's so many things. It's number one, I think it's doing what you say you're going to do and showing up when you say you're going to show up. And that really just kind of jumpstarts the process. It jumpstarts the process with anybody, by doing what you say and saying what you do. And, and then it builds from there. It's nothing fancy. It's nothing, highfalutin or anything like that. It's really just, you know, doing the work, meeting people along the way. And before you know it, it all makes sense.
Yeah. So in your business, obviously you run a software company like I do. Do you have any examples you could share of people that you've networked with or that were helpful to you that maybe you originally didn't anticipate would play that key role as you've continued to build your business?
I hate everybody. No, I'm just kidding.
Perfect networking approach. It's a good mantra for networking.
Exactly. It is so funny by just having a conversation where things will lead into the doors that open up just because, you may have something in common with somebody. One of the things that my dad taught me when I was running the family business was, try and relate to people in something that just it's relatable. And I guess what I mean by that is when I would come into someone's house and for an estimate or to go over colors, you strike up a rapport based on what you see around them. And it's so funny where things can lead into. Mike, I don't think I answered your question directly, but
So relationships, are there any, and I know it's a curveball, I just brought it out of left field. Are there any relationships that you've created in your business that later blessed you through your networking that were like, oh man, I'm really glad I met this guy or this gal or this company, because who would have known down the road that they would become so important to our business? Or maybe it's a customer and maybe they gave you referrals that you didn't know that were going to come, or you did a case study and that case study helped you win 10 other customers. Um, and you did something extra to network with that business. You sent them a gift basket, or you did, something that stands out in your mind in relationships that you have in your day-to-day business.
one thing that I can speak to that is that our family business has been around for two generations, almost 50 years, and it's amazing the customers that we've come across and the people that we've met along the way, and the doors that they can open when when you least expect it is what I'm very, very truly thankful for. Um, I can speak to one thing, or whether this makes it into the conversation or not, is we've been very thankful. We've raised, for the venture that we're on now, and Mike, you can, you've been down this road, you can attest to it. Is we've had the opportunity to raise about $400,000 through friends and family, and a lot of people believed in us before we had a product, believed in us because you do the right thing, and you just you try to be reputable within your circles of people that and so that has opened up many doors.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great example. Networking with friends and family. I mean, that's even though that might seem like it's just normal in a normal relationship, but at the same time, building that trust. I mean, that's really what you're doing. You're giving somebody confidence that you're, like you said earlier, you're going to do what you say you are going to do, and they have faith and trust in that, so they're willing to put money up to support your effort.
Correct. Yes, sir.
So, as far as this solopreneur approach, are there any really key things? I mean, you mentioned maybe getting some apps or some tools in place. Is there any other advice that you would give somebody that they should really think long and hard about, as far as dotting I's and crossing T's before they take that step onto their own business?
If it was me, before I would take a step out on my own, I would try and build up a work portfolio, because how better can you showcase your work to the next person if they don't know you? You need to have examples of your workmanship, some customer testimonials, anything to build up like a portfolio of who you are and what you can bring to the table would be a phenomenal step to take when you're considering going out on your own.
Yeah, I love that. One thing that I know that we've heard on the podcast from various guests, and it's something I really believe in, there's an opportunity to have people recommend you on LinkedIn. And so, you could invite a customer, maybe you're a carpenter and you did some finish and trim for a customer, and you invite them to give you a personal review on LinkedIn and recommend you. And so that would be a resume item that you could share with, again, future customers, and say, these are some of the people that I've done work for, and here's what they shared about me.
Absolutely, Mike. That's a great thought. And as a shameless plug, you know, and this is what we can where we could could be edited or whatnot later, is that you know, when you think about the skilled worker, whether they're a painter, carpenter, plumber, etc., the vast majority of them, they don't even know what LinkedIn is. It's just out of their wheelhouse. And that's actually what we feel is the biggest benefit of what we're trying to create with UseFuse, in that, you know, UseFuse is essentially LinkedIn meets a Carfax for today's skilled worker.
Yeah, that's great. So, is there one thing that you would hope that the listeners would take away from our conversation today?
Going out on your own can be not only the most scary, but the most rewarding opportunity that you can, that you can do for yourself, for your family, etc. Having control, being your own boss, it all sounds great, and it really can be, but it has its downsides if you're not properly, thinking it through and planning for the future.
All right. So, just switching to a couple of personal questions here at the end before we wrap up. What is something, Rawley, that you are most grateful for in your professional life?
I have to say that I am most grateful for the opportunity to witness firsthand the trials and tribulations that my parents have had. The best learnings that I think that I can account for how I work today and the things that I've done today is the conversations around the dinner table when we were growing up is we've seen and heard what I thought was everything. And then there's always these surprises along the way, but having the opportunity to sit around the dinner table with our parents, who ran a family business, that's what I'm most grateful for. I really am, is those learnings along the way. And then, you just roll up your sleeves and you kind of start doing things, and you learn, and you take some hits, but as long as you learn from everything, that's what I'd be most grateful for, is the opportunity to never have one day the same. Every day is different. Every day is exciting, and grateful for the opportunity.
Awesome. So, what, Rawley, is one skill that you developed that you would say is your personal superpower?
That's a great question. My personal superpower, I can swear really well when I need to. So.
That's a good one.
Although I recently learned that that's not a superpower. According to Halsey and his wife, swearing makes me look stupid, so I want to refrain from that. But what would be my superpower? I think a great superpower that I hope I have, and that I really try and refine every day, is staying calm and looking at things from different perspectives. Whether it's a disagreement with a coworker, whether it's a disagreement with a homeowner or a spouse or whatever, there's always two sides to everything. There's two sides to every debate. There's two sides to everything, and trying to take a moment to, not be hard-headed about what you're saying, and being open to the other side. I think I believe that's a superpower, because there is two sides to every situation. It takes two to tango. Whatever you want to say is, you got to think about it from the other person's point of view, and move forward from there. That, I hope, is my superpower, is to try and, be cognizant of what's going on around me.
I love that. That's fantastic. Well, I think in this day and age, that is a superpower for sure, and one that we need more people to have, I would say. So
it would be nice if a lot of people thought before they spoke.
Agreed. Well, thank you so much, Rawley. I really enjoyed this conversation today. Had a good time. Appreciate you coming on, and wish you all of the best of success in the future moving forward.
Mike, thank you. It truly was an opportunity that I won't forget. Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on the Mobile Workforce Podcast, sponsored by About Time Technologies and WorkMax. If you liked the conversation we had today, or were able to learn anything new or helpful, Please make sure to follow us on our WorkMax page on LinkedIn and on Instagram at WorkMax_. And subscribe to the show on iTunes or your preferred podcast platform so you will never miss another insightful episode. Also, if you enjoyed the podcast, please leave us a 5-star rating and review and share the show with your friends and colleagues. Your support means the world to us and will allow us to continue providing impactful information with others looking to improve their results in their business and, in turn, their life.